Morning, friends. Morning is like 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Evening, friends. You joined me from an unconventional spot, just outside my old school. I've done a ride this morning that didn't quite go to plan. I did 100 miles with my dad, give or take, but we had some technical issues along the way and I didn't get to ride the climb I wanted to. But also, because my Di2 battery was dying, I didn't really get to put in any good efforts on the way home because I was just trying to not change gear. So I felt a bit lazy when I got in, and I wanted to exhaust my legs. That's what Saturdays are for. So I've come out again. Rhiannon's busy, and there's only so much time with myself I can cope with. So come straight back out on the bike, and I'm doing hill reps of my local area. So there's 5 climbs that basically converge on this point by my old school. I know them really well, and this loop was my training loop as a junior. I've probably ridden these roads more than any others on earth, and they're unremarkable, I'll be honest with you. They're very unremarkable. But I thought it might be nice as a little insight into what I've done a lot. I'm actually 2 climbs deep, that's why I'm a little bit out of breath. They're all about 1.5 to 2 minutes, depending how you take them, but they're all a bit different, so it's quite a nice little loop. I'm blathering on now for a bit of recovery. I better get back on the bike and I'll go and do Black Horse Hill next. So sorry for another Wirral based video, guys. I know this isn't really, it's not what I'd intended for the channel, but it's all I've been able to record recently, and hopefully I can make it interesting enough. This is just me leaving the town I live in, Greasby, and riding down to West Kirby. This was my bus route to school for many years, so I know all these roads very well. Coming in to West Kirby here, it's a nice seaside town. It is more affluent than where I live and where I grew up, but it is like a nice town. It's not exciting, but very pleasant. It's about 3 miles from where I live, so it's not a bad lead-in at all to come down here. The town centre is a bit of a choke point, and this is the first climb on a main road just out of the town, and here you go. I had to stop for this red light, and it's just after the segment started, so I turned around and had another go at it. So you can see where the climb starts properly. This is climb 1, West Kirby Hill. It's the biggest of the 5 climbs I'm going to do. And I should note, I don't always do them in this order. I vary them, so I'm never doing one fresh and one fatigued or whatever. I always mix up the order. I'm normally quite good at powering down on this first bit. It's only kind of 4-5%, and there's 2 turns in this road, and for all of this time I'm normally really comfortable putting down a decent amount of power. But as tends to happen with efforts like this, you kind of 20 to 30 seconds in as I turn around this corner, and it's really where the pain starts to set in. So for me, the mental challenge is on this long straight where you can see the top, and you know, like I said at the beginning, these aren't significant climbs. They're just good for VO2 sort of efforts. It's just like local little hill reps. So this is where I really do start to struggle and push on, or indeed give up, and you can see my power fluctuating up and down a lot more. And when I get to this road, or maybe even this tree, things tend to get a bit slobbery as I as I really push. My power's a little bit out of sync again, but the gradient is in sync for some reason. Sorry about that. I was pretty happy with this effort after 100 miles. Doing 505 watts for 1 minute 25 is really good. So at the top of that hill I turned right and I descended. This is what I'd call the Ring of Bells hill. It's sometimes called the Moby Dick hill because that's the name of the pub at the bottom. We always name hills after pubs if nothing else. Neither of those pubs are called that anymore, which is confusing. They're closed and hickories. And then I get a fairly long bit of recovery. See that van driver just pulling out on me? What an idiot. And this is through Caldy, which is kind of still West Kirby, but it's the really, really affluent bit. And now I'm not just talking like middle class well off, I'm talking like multi-millionaires. Rafa Benitez owns a house here. A lot of footballers when I was growing up used to live here. I don't know if they still do, but this is like, you know, multi-millionaire territory, so it's fun for a bit of house watching.
And now I'm coming up to climb number 2. I call this Column Road just because that's the name of the road I'm cycling up. I find this one much harder, and that's because it's a false flat for a little while, then a fairly steep section, then a false flat, and then another fairly steep section. So it's still only 1.5 to 2 minutes long, but you've really got to know, if I'm going to be doing, say, 500 watts, which is, you know, very much VO2 for me, I need to know how to distribute that power. And normally my plan is to do kind of threshold on the false flats and really punch up the climb, up the steep bit of the climb. But I did struggle with that, actually. I should mention, you can see as we're going up that it's got this lovely magic painted white line, which means no cars can hurt me. This road is the worst for having parked cars and skips and broken glass in this cycle lane. And indeed, my school's at the top here, and you'd think, oh, it makes sense to have a cycle path so kids can cycle to school. The buses stop and drop kids off in it every morning. It is where the buses stop at school, so you can't safely ride to school in it. It is an abomination. I often think I should write to the council and say, look, it's more dangerous than not even having a painted white line, because it makes drivers think they can close pass you. Anyway, that rant over. This last little bit of climb here is what I really struggle with every time. It gets very rough. I don't like it at all. And that's the top of the climb. I did okay. 1 minute 44 and sort of 370 watts I think I averaged. Now this is coming down Grammar School Lane, which is a climb I will come back to in a little bit. It's actually the last one I do today. So coming up to Black Horse Hill, it's the shortest of the climbs. Black Horse Hill is one I'm worst at for some reason. I don't know if it's because I'm the shortest, because it's the shortest and I'm not putting enough power down to go up it maybe. But I can never quite get my pacing right. I'm always flagging towards the end. I think this would be a good one to negative split and to really push when we come round the corner at the top, which you'll see in a sec. On a side note, Leaf on the right is like a local chain. There's a few in Liverpool, and it's proper hipster brunch and a speciality tea shop, which for West Kirby, which has a very old population, it's not like a trendy place. I think it's quite cool. It's nice to visit there. So you come around this corner and things flatten off a little bit, and really what I'd like to do is be able to finish strong, but in reality I'm always properly flagging here, and I never really manage to get the strong finish that I would like. So 109, that's like 8 seconds slower, and 400 watts is okay, you know, it's not terrible. And at the top I turn right and I descend back into West Kirby, and here we go, down to the seaside. So this is the seafront of West Kirby, and one of the main appeals, other than the fact that you can see over to Wales and it's a nice beach, is that on the right here is a marine lake. So it's just a walled off bit of seawater that's about 1 kilometre long and a bit less wide, but it's really good for sailing, for windsurfing, that sort of thing. And there's regattas held down here. It's a really good atmosphere when you have regattas down here. Me and my mate used to own a boat that we would sail on there. It was like a dirt cheap little laser Pico. Don't think I'm posh, I'm definitely not. But it was great fun. So yeah, lovely day, and it's really nice to be down by the seafront on a day like this. Look at this guy on a motorbike. So coming up now to the Ring of Bells Hill, this is the one I descended earlier, and you see Hickories again on my left, which is a nice smokehouse, by the way. If you're ever in the area, do give it a go. Unfortunately, at this point, I know this sounds snobby, but this car is holding me up. I really wish they would push on a little bit. It is a narrow road, so fair play to the driver. Drive what you're comfortable with. Again, this one's quite hard to pace, just in that it's a bit up and down around this area. But because I know it quite well, I've never really given it too much thought of how I pace it. There's some peaks and troughs as you go along. And this bit by the pedestrian crossing, it gets not steep, but you have to either make a conscious effort to get over it or change gear. You have to do something to address it. And then there's a relatively long, relatively flat section. And as is kind of a recurring theme in these, I really struggle with maintaining power. I think I'm relatively good at fighting against a gradient, so when I'm halfway up a hill and I'm hitting 0 or 1%, I'm really not great at that mental battle of saying, well, just keep the power down. It's not a case of chain tight on these efforts. It should be VO2, bottom to top, and I struggled with that. And then, again, there's just a little, like, final ramp back up to the main road, which I tend to be okay at getting out the saddle and just absolutely grinding up. I didn't actually look at how I did on the Strava segment here. It's a bit of a dodgy Strava segment because it ends once you're in the road a little bit further on, and that's just rubbish. So I didn't pay too much heed, but I did around 400 watts for the effort, which is nice. Like I say, you know, after 100 miles, to be getting out even a minute at 400 watts is not bad at all, and to be doing a minute at 500 is great. So this is Grammar School Lane, this is my final climb, and this takes me back up to where I filmed the intro and outro. And this is a false flat for quite a long time, and then it's the steepest bit of road in West Kirby, really, which is fine. It's quite nice to have something to really push on over. And when I'm feeling good, I will do maybe 600 watts up this section. But I was well and truly flagging by this point. From Black Horse Hill onwards, I was properly flagging, so there was nothing remarkable. It was just a case of getting up it on this occasion. But yeah, I would normally be trying to hold 500 to 600 watts for this whole part and properly push over the top there. When we were kids, the school buses used to come up here, and when it got to about 10%, they'd start struggling. And idiots that we were, we'd all run to the back of the bus, thinking that it would make the bus break down and we wouldn't have to go to school. Don't know why kids do stuff like that, but we would do it pretty consistently. Absolute cretins. So yeah, pushing on this like 0 or 1%, and then you can start to see the school on the left, and it gets a bit steeper again from there. So there's like another final push, really, which really does involve digging in fairly hard, and I didn't have that anymore. But that was the point of this ride. The point of this ride was to end with nothing left in the tank, and I should be doing 500-ish here, and I'm doing like 250. I'm not doing 0. You can see here why my power is so out of sync, or you can see that my power is so out of sync. Definitely not doing 0 watts. That would be impressive. So yeah, 144, it's like almost 20 seconds slower than my PB, but so be it.
So, hill rep's over. I'll be honest, I started flagging pretty hard. Yeah, I don't mind, given how deep I was, but time to go home. It's the Champions League final tonight. All of Merseyside is all over it, trying to watch. I'm an Evertonian, not a Liverpool fan, so I'll watch it with my mates, and I will support Liverpool while I'm there. But however the result is, I'll be sleeping with a smile on my face tonight. I don't care. Right, see you all soon.
And this is just a bonus climb called Thursteston Hill. It's not really in West Kirby anymore, it's like the link road between West Kirby and Heswell, and it's much longer, and it's up a different ridgeline, and I'm rubbish at it, absolutely rubbish. It's like 3.5 minutes maybe, or 3 minutes probably, from roundabout to roundabout, but it's false flat, steepish hill, false flat again, and I reckon I'm nowhere near the top 10 on this Strava segment, and I can't ever get it right. There's lots of other hills, by the way. I said there's like 5 hills in West Kirby that I go up, but there's loads of little ones. They just don't necessarily go all the way up the hill, or they're hard to incorporate into a loop. So sometimes I throw them in as bonuses, either as shorter, punchier things, or just for a bit of difference. But I didn't want to do that today. You can do the dead end road up to Rafa Benitez's house, but I didn't want to do that on Champions League final night. I was worried Evertonians would have defaced it again. And on that note, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.